Hi everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. It's been a little while since we made a video about our $5,000 cruiser project here, Project 8 Ball. So I guess I better make one now. And well, I gotta say, things just got a little complicated. So this here is a 68 Galaxie 500 convertible, but incidentally, I got off the same fella I got this one off. This one he knew about for a while, and it just, it was an estate that he was dealing with, so it was, you know, those things take a little time for everything to work out, so it worked out. He just wanted the back bumper and a few bits and pieces off it, so he took those things and passed it on to me for a very reasonable sum. It's a roller. There's no engine, but the transmission is in it. I have to try and figure out what it is, if it's an FMX or a C4. This was originally a 302 car. Well, I believe it was. Judging by what I saw underneath the back of it, I'm pretty sure it was. So first thing we're going to do here is check the, if we can read here, 8W58. Yeah, that's a 68 Galaxie 500 convertible. F, you can see there, that means 302. So axle, we've got a 3, and transmission, we've got an X. So we're going to get out our manual and see if we can see what that means. So we can see here 3. Yes, that is a 280 to 1 open differential rear end. And X is an FMX transmission. That's basically your basic 302 driveline in a 68 Galaxie 500. This car is pretty much exactly the same as the, mechanically at least, as the very first one that I ever bought, which I'll stick a picture in it if I could find one. It was a painted bronze. I have no idea what color it started life, but it was 302 FMX 280 rear end. Now, what I can tell you without even looking underneath this thing was that when you see F and 280 rear end, it's not a 9-inch that you're going to see under here. It's a WER, which we can see we've got there. It looks kind of like an 8.8 because, well, that's pretty much what it is as far as I know. We're going to find out. I did some research, and I'm pretty sure we can put 8.8 guts inside this baby, but there's only one way to find out. We're going to have to get this thing out of here and try it. But that's a deal for another day. Whether the FMX still resides in this thing or not, I won't know till I get it up in the air and can look at it, because they both have a removable aluminum bell housing on the front, except the FMX has got a cast iron case behind it, whereas the C4, which this could very well have been replaced with somewhere along the line, which many of them were replaced with, would be an aluminum case. We'll find out more later. So we can see on the front, it's got a decent straight bumper on it. It's got, the chrome is not perfect. They always have, you see here, water runs off the front of the hood, drips on there, and it wrecks the chrome on both sides. See, it's just starting to go on this side. It's a 68 Ford thing. Let's get this hood open and see what we see in there. So we can see a little bit down there of the transmission, and it does look aluminum-y, you know, but you can't let that fool you, because a lot of transmission shops spray paint all the transmissions with an aluminum silver color when they're done rebuilding them, so you can't really go by that. But I did grab a magnet and go down there, and it doesn't stick. So yes, this FMX has been swapped out to a C4 somewhere along the line, so that's good. Although the fella did tell me that the transmission is pooched. What that means, I don't know, but we'll figure that out later. We can tell by the brake booster that she at least should have power disc brakes. And yeah, I can see a rotor down in there. So it's still got its disc brakes on it. You can see here, small block frame mounts. I believe, I think he told me this thing actually had a Cleveland in it, a 351 Cleveland. for what that's worth. There's no exhaust at all, which is good, quite frankly, because that's a noisy old thing. Shift linkage is all there. The steering and everything is all there. Inner fenders. Control arms. Looks like they got even decent bushings in them. Somebody did do a whole bunch of work on this car at one point, you know. It's got all the way around. It's got the original small register 5-inch wide Ford wheels. You can see there's a nice, is that a nice Ford script on there? Hard to say. And like most of them, she's packed. You can see the remnants on the door here. You see this line. If you actually look at it, it's more like a bead, like it comes up, or a fin, and then it goes back down. Whereas when they get worked on or get these old Raymac quarter panels put on, you see your bead just turns into a crease, right? And that's, you can see the front edge of this door. There's no more bead, it's a crease. The bottom of this fender is just wasted. These were really popular back in the day. My first 68 Ford, I mean, back in the 1980s had these on them. You'd go down to the auto parts place and buy them, right? They were pretty simple panels, but they were just for rust repair. They weren't for show cars or fixing anything up fancy. That one's got a pair of them on it too. It is what it is, right? The top on this one is pretty shredded. It does have the original back window. The trim panel on the back is pretty decent. Taillights, all that stuff. I gotta look around and see if I can find these. These are hard to find. Up until 67, they were held on with studs, right? And then 68, they got the bright idea to glue them on. And well, they all fell off. This is all the 68 Fords I've had in my life. And this is the first one out of any of them that actually had any of the letters still on it. Pretty impressive. And on this side, more of the same. Bottom of the door is pretty bad. Another Raymac quarter panel, and the line is, well, it's off a little bit on this side, but you know, what are you going to do? Like I said, these things were made to keep you going down the road, not keep you going to a car show. Let's see if we can get into the trunk. It looks like the lock has been punched out, so we should be able to grab a screwdriver and see what's in there. We're in. Let's see what we find. First of all, how's the trunk lid? Wow, not bad. It's way better than the trunk lid on that black one. What do we got here? All kinds of stuff. I don't know what those are. Oh, some little bolts and trim clips and stuff. The gas tank is out of it, I know, because I looked in the back wheel and I can see right through out the other side. Here's the 4 original hubcaps. Here's the side sill plates for the carpet. A Supertronic. Oh, we have to find out what this thing is. Tempo, pause, start, play. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna find out what this is. I bet that's part of it. Here's the original 302 air cleaner, although it's missing the snorkel. Or did it ever have a snorkel? Oh yeah, you can see there where the snorkel was. Oh, that's a stripe applicator. Wow. 1 plug wire. Piece of inner tube. Well, they've been making body parts out of this. I guess that's a top of the rad support, a spare one. Oh, a convertible top boot. Oh, you're kidding me! These things are awesome. Oh yeah. Cool. I love the mirrors. There's a washer jug. It's a washer jug from something else. I recognize that, how it goes on the bracket like that. It looks familiar. You can see here the whole trunk floor is done with fast glass. That was the way we used to fix stuff quick in the old days, and we used to be able to get away with it. They didn't bother you too much when you went for your safety certificate. It's got a trunk light. That's cool. My XL has that. Now to the inside. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's got a clock. That's pretty fancy for a Galaxie 500. AM radio. Nothing too crazy in here. One glove. There's nothing in the glove box. I checked that already. It's full of dryer sheets, which are supposed to keep the mice out, but from the smell of it in here, it didn't work. One fan belt. But we'll see. They usually on these old convertibles like building monster homes underneath the back seat, which is fine. They haven't, you can see here, they haven't really eaten the seats. So it could be worse. So now I'm sure you're wondering, why the hell did we buy this thing? Well, there's a few reasons. Reason number one, I have been looking for one of those 8.5 rear ends forever, because I have always had this theory that I can put 8.8 guts inside it. I did find one once at a pull-apart, but by the time you buy a complete rear end at pull-apart, it's almost $300. At least, the ones here I deal with, or that particular one. And I didn't want to spend $300 for an old rear end that I may end up just, after a bit saying, nah, this isn't going to work, and throwing it in the scrap pile. So I figured sooner or later, I'll either find someone that has one that wants to trade for a 9-inch, or we will find a whole car that's got one in it. And this is what happened. So as far as I'm concerned, I got a really good deal on this car, because I paid not much more for the car than what that rear end would have cost me. The other thing that I'm very happy about is it's the same interior as 8-Ball. So what we'll see on 8-Ball, you see it's got a rip in the seat right here. But that panel on this seat is okay. And because they're both Galaxie 500s, the material, the pleating, the pattern, everything is the same. The other thing, the door panels on this are a lot nicer than the door panels we've got in that. And most importantly, this one has got crank windows. 8-Ball has got power windows, and there's problems with them. When I had my first one 40 years ago, it had problems with the power windows, and I could never ever get them fixed. It's just they were bothersome, to say the least. So this way, we can just swap all the crank window stuff out of this car into that car, and we'll be way better off, because the problem is the power window door panel has got a hole this big in it, right, for the master switch. Well, here we've got a proper door panel, So that's really good. I'm very happy about that. And just for my own personal stock, we've got now a good windshield. A good windshield we can harvest, and tons of small parts, like that trunk lid, like the hood. The hood is really nice on this car. And that, you don't find that all the time. It's got all the Ford letters too. I'm missing the O on that one. Grills. It's just a great parts car. You can see here it's got a couple of cracks in it, but we don't even have one on that car. So in the end, all I can do is hope that through wheeling and dealing parts, plus the, thousands of pounds of scrap metal I've got here when I'm done, that this will be kind of neutral revenue, or we may even end up just a little bit ahead, and it's not going to destroy our budget on that, because we're nip and tuck on the budget, because we've talked about this before, the crazy inflation that we faced lately, and stuff like that. I almost thought, like looking at the pictures of this car, I almost thought that and I haven't completely ruled it out yet, that the body tub on this one may actually be better than the body tub on that one. Although that would get me into paint, and I did state when we started this that I was trying to avoid paint, or at least heavy paint. I wouldn't be beyond swapping the hood just to, you know, because of this peel and clear coat. That might be something to think about. But anyway, let's get this thing off of the trailer, get it in the shop, get it up in the air, and see what we've really got. Man, it looks so much like my old one, my first one. Not the bronze one, the white one, the second one I had. The 390 one. It's pretty much how the body ended up looking on it, you know. Except it was fresher, right? When the guy first sent me pictures of it, I said, "Is that my old car?" But then I saw it was black inside, so I knew it wasn't it, right? Oh man, so funny. Okay, we got this fella. I guess this one's going to be cue ball, right? That one's 8-ball. This one's cue ball. I'd have to say that this one and 8-ball both have equal amounts of moo goo, poo-poo in them, but this one, for whatever reason, it didn't turn out as good as the job they did on 8-ball. Stuff like this, I mean, this quarter panel's got to be a quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch proud of the door, and it's just the way, like, it's built up. You could maybe loosen the hinges and kind of twist the door a little bit. You'd have to monkey around with the fender then at the other end to make the other end of it fit, right? Also, maybe you see this gap here. If you slid the nose of the car forward a little bit, slid the door forward a little bit, it might not look as bad either. And the other side's worse. The door is practically touching the quarter panel. This stuff is not hard. This stuff is not easy to do. Like, you just start. I remember when I first did mine, I was maybe 16 or 17 years old, and it was a big job. My dad helped me. We put these panels on, we brazed them, you know. My dad would go along and braze it in a spot, and I was behind him with a wet sponge to cool it off. That's how we did it. And we went all the way down the side of it like that. And then there was a lot of plastic work to do after that. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, we can see here on 8-ball, despite it having just as much muck in it, it just seems to fit a lot better. I mean, maybe it's a 1/2 inch thick on the door here too to make up. I don't know. But it just seems to fit together a lot better, despite the amount of muck in it. So we finally got this thing in the garage, got it on 4 stands, got the wheels off. We're going to have a look and see what we see. First, I guess we'll go underneath it, check things out, and then we'll have a look topside. Here it looks pretty decent. I mean, this is the first one I've ever got that actually looks like it has serviceable rotors on it. They're usually like paper thin. There's even some meat left on the pads. And these pads aren't quite so easy to get anymore. They're DS33 pads. And they're certainly not as common as they used to be. Ford only used them for a couple of years. You can see some of this great big piece of rubber they've bolted into the inner wheel well here. This is just all the kind of shenanigans that used to go on these old cars, you know. Stuff that you'd never get away with today. Look at the inner fender all rotted out. This part of the frame that we could see looks decent. Okay, let's check out the back. Again, we can see here somebody's put new brake drums on it. So that's going to help with our budget, because you'll remember for the black car we bought 2 brand new brake drums. So I will I'll take them back out of our running tally. I'll put them to my convertible or something. To my convertible, I mean. And we'll use these drums, so long as it's got a new one on the other side too. Now you can start seeing here. Oh, where's the flash? There we go. You can start seeing here all the patches and plating on the frame. Look at this up in here. This poor thing was rotten. Look at this. Oh yeah. She's a rotten old car. What are you going to do? That's what happened to them here in the salt belt. Now, the fuel tank is missing. And pretty much everything around here needs a tank. So what I did, I looked up and I don't seem to be able to find the actual fuel tank for a 68 Ford, but I managed to find one from a 75 or 76 Ford in the junkyard. So I grabbed it because it looks to me like it will fit up in here, and that tank is actually still available as a new part. So we can see here, it's got a pan fill C4 in it. It looks like it's been in a transmission shop at some point in its life because it seems to be painted silver, which happens to them. There is the tag still on it. Look at that. So we're going to pull that tag off and see what it says. So here's our transmission tag. If we read the first line, PEA with an M suffix, and you can see here I found this chart on a Mustang forum. PEAM, it's for a 68 302 column shift. So you can see here, to confirm that, C8. C is for the decade, 1960s, and 8 is 68. So it's a proper, most likely a proper 68 Galaxie C4 transmission. Although it's not original to this car, at least according to the tag that's on the door, because the tag that's on the door said the car came with an FMX, which was a cast iron case. Pretty tough old transmission, but performance-wise, people prefer a C4. And this is a pan fill, which is also consistent with a big car. As Mustangs, I'm pretty sure Mustangs in this area used a case fill C4. It's hard to get a good look at them, but the floor pans in this thing, short of calling them good, are actually a lot better than a lot of them I have seen. We'll find out more when the interior comes out of it, and we can look at it from the top side. It's a little messy back here, but the actual pans all seem pretty good in it. Look at this. We got some tread plate. That's pretty artsy. I kind of like that. I mean, it was fixed well. It's just the safety standards rules have changed over the years. And even though that's fixed up properly and probably good and solid, maybe even better than when it was new, you would just never get away with that in modern times. Whatever. It is what it is. Here's our WER axle. Maybe I could show it from the other side. Let's see. Yeah. There's our WER axle that we're going to do a great experiment on. This is allegedly an 8.5 ring gear. This axle morphed eventually into the 8.8 that we all know now. My reasoning is I think it's an 8.8. We'll find out when we get in there. I think they just called it an 8.5 because they already had the 9-inch. They had the 9 3/8. They had the 8-inch in the Mustang. And they just kind of fit this one in between and call it an 8.5. The cover looks just as tall as an 8.8. I don't think it's interchangeable. I think the bolts on the top and bottom on an 8.8 are a little more in a straight line. But when we get this rear end out of this car, that's the first thing we're going to do is I've got a 327 track lock complete innards from an 8.8. We're going to try and stick in this 8.5. Now we're going to get the 75 gas tank and try to shove it up into here. And once it's up in, I'm going to try and stick the filler neck into it. So here's the 75 tank. And quite frankly, I think the only real difference between the 75 tank and the 68 tank is it's got this little dome on top here for the rollover valve, right? So we're going to try and push this thing up in there. And see what happens. So here's the two filler necks side by side. The 75 filler neck here versus the 68. And even though the 75 seems to go a lot further into the tank, if you look, the distance from the actual grommet to the mounting flange is pretty much the same on both of them. So fingers crossed, that's a good sign. At least let's get the tank up in there and see what happens. And there we go, it fits perfectly. It hangs down the exact same 2.5, 3 inches below the frame rail as it does in my 68XL. Perfect. And the brackets for the straps even line up with the reliefs in the tank. Perfect. Couldn't ask for more. So we can, in fact, use a 75 tank that you can actually still buy in our 60s cars. And there's the hole for the filler neck. Here's our filler neck. I just can't get it in because I just don't, there should be a removable housing in there that has become fused to the body with tar and screens. So I can't remove that to actually position the filler neck properly. But that's okay. The hole in the tank is in the right place. So we're good there. And all we got to see now is if the sending unit is in the right place. Where is it? It should be right behind the rear end. Yep, there it is. You can actually see the wire from the original 68 sending unit hanging down right in front of the sending unit that's in this tank. I bet you it'd probably even plug in. Perfect. That's good to know. Now let's get a battery in this thing and see if anything works. So here we go. Here's our first connection. This one should go, see the little circuit breaker on it? This one should be the feed for the convertible top. So we should be able to get in the car now and put the top down. We just make sure there's nothing in the well except the back window. That's good. So we should be able to put the top down. Man, it don't smell so nice in here, but what are you going to do? Okay, she's unlatched. Let's see what happens. There it goes. That side's a little lazy, but anyway, it's down. Now I'm going to go around and roll down all the windows so we don't look like dorks. Awesome. We're ready to hit Yonge Street on Friday night. Do they still do that? Now we got some more wires here. This one here is the output from the alternator, and it goes to this one here, which puts the alternator power to the hot stud on the solenoid to charge the battery. This one here, I'm guessing, is the main juice into the car. So we should be able to hook that one up now and see if we can get anything in there working. Wonder if the dome light will come on. No, wishful thinking. Okay. Lights. Oh yeah, I can see a reflection of a light on the tractor there, see? All right, so the lights work. Oh, and look at the high beams are on. Does dimmer switch work? Wow, look at that. High beam, low beam. Okay. Now, this thing seems to have been converted to screwdriver start. So we're going to see if we can put the ignition on. Okay, ignition is on. There we go. Alternator light is on. Wonder if the radio works. Well, sort of. No. Oh, there it goes. Heater fan blowing. Man, if only you had an engine, eh? Horn? What do you know, wipers? Like literally everything works in this car. Isn't that amazing? And it's got a good washer switch. This is, you want a hard part to find on a 68 Ford? A working washer pump switch. And it's working as it should. It's pulsing with the wipers. Hear it? That's awesome. Wow. That's pretty darn cool, man. Oh, the clock doesn't work. I'm not sure about the dash lights because it's too light in here. So basically, I think what we can learn from this is that at some point, this was actually a relatively operational car, right? When all that stuff works, as long as this car is sat, that's a pretty good sign that somebody was, at least keeping it going. All the brakes seem to be okay and everything. So maybe the transmission is the reason it got parked. At any rate, doesn't matter because she's going to get blown apart. Now we've come to the part of this episode where, at like the end of every episode, we bring you up to speed on our accounting. So, and it's been a while since I made a video about this car, so bear with me, right? So we had to buy a set of piston rings, basically $64. I bought a Mustang hood scoop. Whether we use it or not, who knows? But I bought it at a swap meet for $25. If we find we don't use it at the end of the project, we'll swap meet it back off and put whatever we get toward our budget, right? This car here, cue ball. We paid $500 for it. I got a torque converter for the C6. They call it, it's an old, it was new old stock in a Hearst box, like a Saturday night special, an 1800 stall torque converter, which is going to help our little 351 get this big car moving. And we bought the set of 327 track lock gears that we hope we can put inside this 8.8 rear end. We'll get into that later. Or 8.5 rear end, pardon me. We're hoping we can put the 8.8 stuff in the 8.5. We'll get into that later, why I want to do that. But with any luck, that'll free up the 9-inch that's in the car now because everybody's always looking for a 9-inch Ford rear end. We could sell that off. Anyway, so where we're at now is $4,761.52. That's getting perilously close to our cap of $5,000. But as things start rolling here, we're going to have probably at least 1,500 pounds of scrap from this car by the time we finish, dealing with it. Well, maybe 1,000. We'll see. And we're going to start having some stuff to sell off. Plus, on top of it, we've got our crank window conversion that we're very, very happy to get for the black car. We could sell off the power window stuff. We've got all the electrical parts in this car that we just found out all work. So if we need any of that from the black car, we've got it. Little bits and pieces of trim. We've got grills. We've got a bumper. There's all kinds of stuff. Once you start with a parts car, that really is going to help your budget. Even though initially you have to shell out for the parts car, everybody's always looking for parts, especially on these old 1 year only cars, where they were constantly changing them every year. There's not as huge a market for it, but the guys that need it, need it. So I guess that'll do it for this one. Cue ball in the next episode is going to get blown up. Sorry, cue ball. Can't save them all. Anyway, we'll make a video about that as we go through, and I'll show you a few of the really peculiar convertible only things that we're going to need to keep off of this car. This thing is a gold mine for us. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to take off now. I'd like to thank you for tuning in as always. I hope you'll come back and see us again at the Claremont Classic Garage. And until then, I'm Kevin saying so long for now.